Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is guidance. Guidance. Now we're going to wrap up our dealings with 1 Samuel today in chapter 30. Something very simple. If you're watching these daily, today is Friday, and I just want to give you just a simple word today in guidance. A simple example of exactly how you and I can handle decisions each and every day. 1 Samuel chapter 30, David has encountered, there's been this great loss. Their little town, city, whatever you want to call it, has been wiped out. Their wives, children kidnapped, everything looted. And he wants to go after the raiders, all the ones that had stolen all this stuff from them and kidnapped them. They didn't kill anybody, but they had taken everything. And so the men have turned against David. They're upset with him. And David is saying, wait a minute, I want to go after them. But he pauses in the best way possible. And that's what I want us to see today. Before we rush ahead, and it's easy to get focused on the weekend, let's not rush ahead of God, but let's be patient and wait for his guidance. So today in 1 Samuel chapter 30, looking at verses 6 through 8. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Then David said to Abiathar, the priest, Ahimelech's son, please bring the ephod here to me. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. So David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Now, we may look at this, and you may read this story and see the way that they are, that God's word comes true, that they do overtake them and they recover everything. We may look at that and say, well, yeah, that was easy for him to listen. But I think it's even more so that, it's not just because he asked, is that why they were successful? Because that would be kind of that prosperity gospel, that prosperity message that, okay, well, as long as we just, cross our T's and dot our I's, then God's going to pour out blessings. Well, if you look at this, I honestly believe that the circumstances could have been different. Look throughout everything that we've talked about in 1 Samuel, and the time that even Saul or David went ahead of God, they ended up suffering the consequences. But we see that David has learned. Right? He's learned from the error of his ways, and he says, not that he's perfect, and not that he's not going to mess up again when we get to 2 Samuel, once he's king. But as we look here for the guidance that he's seeking, it would be easy in that moment to make a rash decision. It would be easy in that moment to think that, look, I've got to lash out and I've got to lead these men. They're getting ready to stone me. I'm going to have to corral them together. One, he could have just said, no, I'm running and trying to protect myself. He could have said, I'm going to go after and I'm going to make these people answer. And then he could have caused even more destruction. It could have been even more deaths. I mean, if they had been overtaken themselves, and now him and all of his men and all their families and everybody are in enemy hands. But because he waited on the Lord, he sought guidance from God. I don't know about you today, but it's easy for us to make rash decisions. It's easy for us in the heat of moments to make a snap decision and just say, this is what I'm going to do, that's it. Now, I'm not saying that there's never times in our lives where we have to make we have a short time span to make a decision. You just go to the book of Nehemiah and you see that as Nehemiah had an opportunity to stand before the king, it was in that moment, it says that, and he prayed, and then he opens his mouth and begins talking. It wasn't that was the first time he had prayed. This wasn't the first time that David had prayed, as we've well talked about. But it was a time where in that moment that he said, hold on, let's stop everything and seek the guidance of the Lord. So maybe today, maybe you just need to pause today, even if it's for just a few moments or for a few minutes or even for a few weeks, and just pause and say, God, I need your guidance. What would you have me to do? God bless you all, and I pray you have a great great day.